This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is brought to you by GamersOnGames, which is a YouTube channel that does lots of things like showing you how to play, doing contests. Also, they do a lot of podcast rants about different things. I would definitely go check them out. Go ahead and go YouTube /user /gamers on games, or just click the show link on the show notes. And just a disclaimer about this episode, the creator wanted us to be able to get this episode up ASAP for his backers on his Kickstarter game. So there will be minimal editing, just so you're aware. But anyways, the show must go on, so go ahead and start listening.
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Welcome to the Empire of Arcadia, an alliance between three nations, three races united under the banner of the Emperor. To the south, the human nation of Mercer, worshippers of Merceres, god of efficiency and wealth. Humans build their cities of stone and wood and metal. To the north, the elven nation of the Windwood, a vast and ancient forest. They're the protectors of nature and serve the goddess Aethwina, who value far sight, wisdom, and longevity. In between the two nations rises an immense mountain whose core is alive with the fires of the world. This is Torvig, home of dwarves. Volgrig is their god, the god of fire and forge, strength and war. To the east, filling the mouth of Terminus Valley with its walls, sits Harmodia, the imperial seat. Harmodia is a neutral city in the center of the empire. It's also the last bastion of defense between the three nations and the neighbor on the other end of Terminus Valley, the nation of Drac. The ancient legends tell of a conflict between the fell country of Drac and the Empire of Arcadium, in which the minions of the Drac Lord that lived beyond the Terminus crossed that sacred border, flowing down the Terminus Valley like an avalanche of death, reaching a path of destruction for Arcadia. Eventually, his army was defeated and vanished beyond the Terminus, and all has been peaceful for ages. Now the Drac Lord has returned, and he's been amassing his army for millennia. This massive tide of destruction is heading towards the Terminus even now. Humans, elves, and dwarves must fight side by side to repel this horde of devastation and defend them.
Did that sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me neither, but this is a story of Terminus Breach TD, a tower defense board game that's currently on Kickstarter. And tonight we're lucky enough to be joined by Matt Lloyd, who is the creator mastermind behind this game. Is that correct? Is that how you fit in line with Terminus Breach TD, Matt?
That's it. It's in essence my baby. I've done pretty much the whole thing on it, from coming up with the original concept to putting it all together over the years, and then I'm a graphic designer by trade, so that came in handy. So all the layout and everything I already knew how to do, and I've been drawing since I was a kid. I mean, I'm not a professional artist by any means, except for being a graphic designer, but on this one, I just decided to sit down and draw, and this is how the art came out.
Well, there you go. Before we get too far into it, let's rewind a little bit if we could. We don't have to go too far back, and of course, unless you were born into tabletop board games. But how did you get started into playing tabletop board games, Matt?
Oh, man. Well, I'm 36, so I started playing Dungeons & Dragons at 2nd edition, I believe. So we started playing then, and in fact, I've always played board games. I was always one in my family that made my family go out and buy board games and then have board game nights. And nobody really wanted to play with me because I would always figure out how to play the board games. And my older brother was a classic board tosser. You know, he would get really frustrated at me. He always thought I was cheating.
Oh boy! So what did you play, like Monopoly and stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Family games, Monopoly, and as big as Risk, things like that. I think I prefer Risk out of the two. It's definitely more my style. I always like the long game, and Monopoly is just, man, that game causes fights.
For sure. I was reading somewhere just the other day that, or maybe I was watching something, I don't remember what it was, but that it ends up, maybe it was, yeah, I don't remember what it was, but it ends up going a lot longer due to house rules. If people were to play it without the free parking and stuff, it would be a lot shorter game.
Right, that makes sense.
For sure. So, do you have a risk strategy you'd be willing to divulge, or how do you go about playing when you play that?
No, I mean, that's one of the things that I love about the game is you can start pretty much anywhere and probably make it work if you do things correctly. There are definitely places that are easier to start with, right? If you get fortunate enough to lock down the Australia corner and move into Asia from there, and you can pull that off early game, then that's the way to go. But also like starting out in South America and moving up north to North America and across to Brazil or across to Africa and taking that over there. That's not a bad way to go. Starting in Europe, up in Scandinavia, if you can hold it, you've only got a couple access points. If you can lock that down, that's not a bad spot. So it's one of the things that I love about the game. It doesn't really matter where you start. There's always something you can do.
For sure. I always like the either North America or South America or Australia. My son, my 15-year-old son, he'll go straight for Asia and then, yeah, and then it's over.
Yeah, that's trouble. Going straight for Asia early is trouble because odds are good everybody's going to gang up on you. And Asia's really hard to hold once you've got it because there's so many access points. And once somebody gets past your border, then you generally just rip right through the middle of it, no problem.
I agree with you. I don't know how he does it, but he'll beat me going for Asia straight away.
That's pretty great. Watch out for him, man.
For sure, for sure. The other day, I just downloaded it on my phone, and they start off different. I never thought about it this way, but they gave him like 49 units, and they started me somewhere in North America. I had like one territory, and I'm fighting against other people. I ended up winning, but I thought that was odd, where they just start you, you get one territory, and then
Oh, and that's it.
have to take over the rest of the world.
You weren't spread out all over the world where you have to decide which ones to keep and which ones to give up, huh?
No, they just start you in one territory. Everybody else has the other two or whatever. The AI had a couple other, had like spread out throughout the world, split it evenly or whatnot. And then I just had one place and I had to go for the rest of the world.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was a little rough. It seemed like okay, but then when I got to where I had a bunch of armies and they had a little bit, or maybe they had a little, maybe they had more or whatnot, but the rolling, it got kind of, it favored the AI, or at least in my opinion, it did. So it took a little bit longer than it should have.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens, doesn't it?
Yes, for sure.
Well, and that's why it's called risk, right?
Sorry, did you ever move on from Risk and Monopoly into what do they consider tabletop board games right now, today?
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. I play a lot of games, yeah, and have for years. I don't remember. I was just sitting here trying to think. I don't remember what the first like Euro style game I ever played was. Gosh, I don't even know. I don't even know. It was such because I've always played games and I play video games too. And I'm from Alaska and we have a small and large community in Alaska. So I always have friends that I play games with all the time. And it was such a seamless transition into Euro style board games. It was probably something like Catan or something like that got us into it. Maybe Ticket to Ride or something.
There you go. Yeah, you always hear about those ones. Mine was a different way. I haven't played any of the what do you call it, the traditional, what do they call, gateway games or whatnot. My wife was, we played Parade or Splendor here and there, but I was never really into it. She got on the whole Kickstarter bandwagon and backed different games here and there. And then not this last Christmas, but the previous holiday season, I picked up, I watched what is it, Rodney Smith video of Blood Rage, and he told me exactly how to play, so I didn't have to pick up the rule book or anything. And then sat down with my son that it will be 10 in September or whatnot. Yes, 10 in September, and we played that game, and it was like Christmas. It was like awesome.
That sounds fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's interesting, huh? And I played Magic also. I still play it really casually, but I've played since way back in the day. So that acted as a merger also.
Yeah, I tried to get into that, but it was the same with role playing. Me and my friends, when I was in high school, they picked up. We played Middle Earth role playing. We played it for quite some time. By the time I had some money to buy the role playing stuff, so I could contribute and whatnot, they got out of it, and then they jumped into Magic. And as soon as I could buy that, they stopped playing there as well. So I didn't have to waste as much. Well, not waste necessarily. It depends on how you look at it, but didn't have to invest as much money in that as not either.
Right. What they all moved to after Magic?
I don't know. I think we kind of I think high school was almost over. We just, maybe girls. I don't remember
Sure, got it.
for sure. But in Alaska, is that just because it's so cold? People play board games, or?
I think that's part of it. It's a long, cold winter. I mean, we're really well suited for entertaining ourselves during the winters outside. You get a lot of outside activities, and but definitely, I think because of the long, cold, dark winter, we do spend a lot of time in each other's houses. Eating food and watching movies and drinking beer and playing games.
There you go. That's cool. So I know my audience would probably have me drug out into the street if I let you pick Terminus Breach. So besides that, do you currently have a different favorite game?
I think probably Seven Wonders is my favorite game.
Cool. I haven't played that one. I'm really looking into. Well, it's been a while, but we did pick up Seven Wonders Duel. I don't know how the two compare, but I watched the Rodney Smith video, and it excites me to want to play that one. Haven't been able to get to the table though yet. How's that compared to Seven Wonders Duel? Would you say? Do you know?
It's fantastic. So I also own Duel, and I own it for that exact same reason, so that my wife and I can sit and play. And it's fantastic. Duel is great. It's definitely that's one of the drawback. That's probably the main drawback of Seven Wonders, that it's 3 people minimum. So Seven Wonders Duel really solved that, and it's sort of the same concept at its core. But it works for 2 people, and it's smooth and it's seamless and it's really fun. You basically get what I love. My favorite thing about Seven Wonders, and probably what makes it my favorite thing, is that you just sort of play your own game, and everybody does. I mean, you look at the people around you and see what they're doing, but for the most part, you're just kind of building with what you get, and you have to be really fluid and adjust, and then you just play and play and play and play and play and play and play, and at the end of the game, you find out who won.
Cool. And if I recall, it's been a while since I watched the video. So, and I tell people I had, what do you call it? Short-term memory loss before Dory on Finding Nemo did. But, so it's been a while since I watched the video. Is that similar to Splendor? Is it like a set collection, or what exactly mechanics are there in Duel?
I've never actually played Splendor. I love the look of it, and I sat down and just for a couple seconds messed around with a set of it, but I've never actually played a game of Splendor. So the original Seven Wonders game is a drafting game, right? Essentially.
Okay, so the deck that's different than deck building, isn't it?
Well, no, you deck build through a draft in Seven Wonders. In Seven Wonders Duel, the cards are all out on the board. So it's sort of a draft, except that it's more of just a shape that some are available and some aren't, and you kind of have to choose between what's available, what you want to do. And some are face up, so you can see them, and some are face down, so you don't really know what they're going to be until they flip over. So there's you still have to adjust and be able to change your strategy on the fly depending on what comes to you. But there's not that that classic drafting where you take one and pass it to the left and then take one and pass it to the right. Duel's not like that. The other big difference between the two is that Duel has instant win conditions, right? And in Seven Wonders, you pretty much just play the 3 ages, and whoever wins. Whoever has the most points wins. But in Seven Wonders Duel, you can pull off a military or a scientific victory and end the game instantly. But it's cool because it's sort of a risky proposition. If you try, it's really apparent that you're doing that, and both of them are fairly easy to counter. But it does take some concentration to counter. So it may be that you go for that and somebody counters it and your whole strategy falls flat, and then they beat you because they didn't even try for that. They just countered you.
Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah. So drafting. Yeah. I want to say another game that I kind of fell in love with. Seasons. I think they have a drafting mechanism where I go ahead and I'll have some cards. I'll look at it, take a card, and then pass them on, and so on and so forth until the cards are gone, and then we play with those.
Yep, that's a draft, and you're basically building a deck, off of what you get.
Cool. Now the word on the street is you have a new game on Kickstarter, looking at called Terminus Breach TD, a tower defense board game. And I watched the video or whatnot, and it looks like you get a lot of components. Some of those being cards. Is that a mechanic used in there, or what kind of mechanics are used in your game?
Definitely, there are a lot of cards. There are no miniatures. It's all cards and chits and tokens and such. There's just one D6, but the dice roll is a massive part of it. And then it's just decks of cards to see what comes out. So basically, it's a classic tower defense game. It has a modular map that you can build a path on. The towers upgrade. The baddies, which are called Draka, they get faster and stronger as the game goes on. And you're playing essentially cooperatively against the board every game. There are victory points. So if you win, you can add up your victory points and see who was the best defender. So it's a semi-cooperative that way, but you're always playing against the board together.
Cool. I want to say we have something similar, but this looks a little more complex. And when I forget what it's called, but like you're trying to keep your tower from falling or whatnot. I forget what. I wish I knew what it was called, but
so in Terminus Breach, you don't nothing attacks your towers. Your towers just build and upgrade, and then defend and try and keep the path clear. Try and keep all the Draka from getting to the end of the path, getting off the end of the path.
Okay, now and awesome. And you said you're a graphic designer and you did all the art. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. I'm a graphic designer, and I specialize in branding and logo design. So it really came in handy for, there's so much graphic design that goes into a board game, all the layout, the background, and the typography and the just the design of the whole thing. And branding is a huge aspect of that. Every game that's beautiful out there is well branded. Everything, you just see a component from it, and you can pick out what game that's from just because the style of it, right? So the graphic design skills really lent themselves really well to creating a board game. And like I said about the art, I just kind of drew the stuff like that, and then used the skills I have as a graphic designer to turn it into graphics and colorize them and do the shading and stuff like that.
Cool. I really like it. My wife might call me kind of she said I was barely born in the wrong what do you call it?
Wrong era.
Wrong era or whatnot, just barely by a couple months or whatnot. But it reminds me of like some 80s cartoons, especially what is it? Basilisk? He kind of reminds me of He-Man's cat, kind of.
That's cool, man. Thundercat. That is cool. I never put that together. But definitely, this is one neat thing about it is this game is just sort of me as a gamer personified. These are when I imagine these monsters in my head, this is what they look like, and now after this many years, I can accurately reproduce them. And like you said, it's got this sort of throwback style to it. It's clearly not the best art out there, especially nowadays in an age where everything is gorgeous. Oils and acrylics and digital all mixed into this incredible artwork on every game out there, So, and these ones, they are kind of, throwback, cartoony, and classic fantasy. You'll see a lot of homages to things that inspired me. Things like even off-topic things like Calvin and Hobbes, right? The art of Calvin and Hobbes is something that inspired me when I was younger and still does. So you can see sort of a Calvin and Hobbes aspect to the art of mine. And like the original Monstrous Manual, the old school D&D Monstrous Manual, I really loved, a lot of the art that was in that. So this is sort of the same way.
Cool bean. So, per se, me and you were to sit down to play Tower Defense or TD, what is it, Terminus Breach TD, a Tower Defense board game. How would that look? I mean, how would that sound? This is a podcast after all, man.
Sure. What do you mean? Kind of run you through how?
Like, how do you play? How do you play the game? How would we play our games? How do our turns look?
All right. So the first thing to do is set up a map. So it basically the board just comes with a grid of path, and then you have cards that fit on the squares that are terrain. They have rocks on one side, trees on the other, and then you also have build spot cards. And you would basically build a map. It's fully modular, so you build a map with a path that goes along with different build spots that you can build your towers in. I have 3 as an example in the back of the player handbook on different difficulties, and in the final version of the game, I'll include errata about kind of guidelines for creating a path and what guides the difficulty of the path, like path length and build spots and exposure, things like that. But really, once you know the game, you can make any path you want to. So we would sit down and we'd make a path, and then we would choose a character. There are 9 characters to pick from. Elves, dwarves, and humans, and then 3 classes. Have I gone over the classes yet?
I don't think so. What classes do you have in it?
Okay, so within each race, there are 3 classes. There's a military leader, a political leader, and a spiritual leader. The military leader is really classic tower defense, where you kill things and you collect the bounty for killing them, and you take that bounty and you put it back in your towers so you can upgrade them and build more and kill more things so you can collect more bounty and put it back in your towers, right? Kind of classic tower defense. The political is not so much that way. In any given turn, if you don't collect a bounty, you collect a petition. The idea being that instead of cutting off the head and returning it back to the Empire for the bounty and gold, you're sitting in your tower filling out a petition saying we need help, petitioning the Empire for help. So once you collect enough petitions, you can trade them in for imperial favors and sanctions, which are cards. So it's a card draw, and those do different things. Sanctions are super powerful and can totally change the game. Favors are things like spy cards, which will let you execute a Draka within 1 square of any of your towers. A tax collector, which will let you collect gold immediately as soon as you play it. There's a damage buff card called a Combust that buffs the damage of 1 tower for 1 turn. There's a range buff called a Falconry, and then there's a slow that you can play on the path that makes the speed of all the Draka on that square 1 for the next advance phase. So those are the favors. So with the political player, you're basically supporting the board in different ways. You're doing different things, but you're not so much out there to just kill stuff. You're more to try and get the Empire involved and get some magic and some special effects on the board. So, and then the spiritual leader is sort of half and half. Spiritual leader has to ride both worlds. So the spiritual leader is, you have to kill things and you also have to play. Where this comes into play is each character levels up 3 times. There are level up cards for each character. The military levels up. Basically, what those do is they guide your gameplay towards your character. So every military character, their level 1 goal is 5 kills. So as soon as you make your 5th kill, you collect your level 1 card as a playable card. On the back of it, it has kind of a list of things that happen when you play that card. They all happen at the same time, and and then you start working towards your level 2 goal, which is 15 kills, right? The political player is like play 3 spies or 3 tax collectors. It's your level 1 for the political, and the spiritual is to get like 3 kills and play a spy and a tax collector. So you kind of have to do both. So spiritual is probably the most versatile, but also one of the harder ones to play because you have to keep your head in both worlds, whereas the other 2 are fairly direct. So that makes for 9 total characters, and the game is really well balanced, so it doesn't really matter what character you choose, just really what appeals to you most. What are you going to feel most comfortable playing? And then once you know the game, you can totally mix and match, and that's where it gets really crazy.
Cool. So what character do you usually play, Matt?
I've played all of them. I love them all. I don't know. I've played the game so many times with so many different people that, and because it's my game, I always sort of react to whatever they choose so that we get kind of a complete experience. So I really don't know which is my favorite. Gosh, maybe human military.
Cool. Well, going with your favorites while you're at it. Do you have a favorite? What do you call them, Dracus or?
Favorite Draka? Oh, I don't know. They're all my favorite. All the Draka. I love them all. I don't know. Maybe the Drakworm would be my favorite because I love dragons, and I haven't actually drawn the Draken yet. So, no, I don't know. I don't know. I love them all. I don't know. I don't think I could pick a favorite Draka. So we're setting up the game, right? So we got the map set up. We chose characters. You get your tower cards, your level up cards, your blessings for your character sheet. And then we would start with an initial build phase. In the initial build phase, everybody builds 2 towers. So how it works, sort of like Catan, you would basically roll the d6 to see who goes first, and then it goes in a snaking order from there. So player 1, player 2, player 3 if there are 3, and then player 3 goes again, player 2, and player 1 finishes out. So at the end of the initial build phase, everybody has 2 towers on the board. You can only build the 1 during your turn in the initial build phase, but you can upgrade it as many times as you like. So you collect gold in the beginning of the game, 450 gold no matter how many people are playing. So if you're playing a solo game, you get 450. 2 people get 225 each. So you can kind of have some options right off the bat. And then once you get done with the initial build phase, it just starts with whoever won that initial dice roll, and the game starts. So there are 15 waves total in the game. It's split into 5 battles of 3 waves each. Each wave is a turn, and each turn or wave goes in 5 phases. So the first phase is the advanced phase. All the Draka that are on the board, that are on the path, move their speed along the path. The second phase is the draw phase. Whoever's turn it is rolls the d6 and adds a battle modifier. So whichever battle you're in, it's a different modifier. Add that. That's how many new Draka come out onto the path. Then there's the defend phase. In the defend phase, everybody shoots on everybody's turn. It just starts with the active player, and any tower that can shoot must. So all the towers shoot, and then the 4th phase is the resolve phase. If ever you kill a Draka, you fill it up on damage. You just pick it right up off the board and put it face up on your character sheet there in your dead Draka spot. During the resolve phase, any face up dead Draka that you have, you collect the GP bounty that's on them, and you flip it face down. Anybody that doesn't collect a bounty gets a petition, like I said. So, and then also during the resolve phase is when you can trade in petitions for favors and sanctions. The only rule with favors and sanctions is that you can't play them the turn you get them, but other than that, they're free game. You can play them whenever. And then there's the 5th phase is the develop phase, where starting with the active player, you get to build new towers or upgrade the towers that you have, and that goes around the board, and everybody gets to develop on everybody's turn, and then that's a wave, and then you move on. And then it just goes like that. Advance, draw new ones, defend, resolve what happened, and develop new ones. Wave, wave, wave. Every 3 waves, it's the end of the battle. So you kind of you count up VPs for different things, and then you clean up the deck that you're using. So when you start at the game, you'll have the Battle 1 deck at the beginning of the path, and you'll be drawing from that deck. After Battle 1 is done, after the 3 waves, you pick up the Battle 1 and shuffle and put the Battle 2 there. The Battle 2 deck contains all the Draka from Battle 1, but it also has 5 new Draka that are bigger and faster and harder. So then you play 3 waves on Battle 2, and you do the same to go to Battle 3, all the way through Battle 5. And if we make it to the end of the game, then once Battle 5 goes, you take a couple more turns where there's just no draw phase. You just advance, defend, resolve, and develop, and you just clean what's left on the board. And if you get that done, then whoever has the most victory points at that point wins, but everybody won the game. Everybody beat the board. How the board wins is every Draka has a threat level on it, and if it makes it off the board at the end of the path, it raises your panic level, however much that threat is. If your panic level ever reaches 10, the game is over. Basically, the Emperor recalls the armies, says too much damage is happening behind you, you need to come home and defend home.
Well, that sounds really fun. So it says semi co-op though. What's that mean? That somebody's going to end up winning, or what's the semi part about?
The semi-cooperative part is that there are victory points, right? Some people just, it takes all kinds to make this world go around, right? And some people just love the competitive aspect of any game. And a fully co-op game, they're really not interested. They play to beat their buds, something like that. So there's victory points in there just to see if you beat the board, if you successfully defend Arcadium, then you can add up your victory points and see who won, see who did it the best, who's the best defender.
Oh, good. I think I kind of like that better than the co-op games. I'm kind of not too co-op-y fan.
Right, totally. So, but a lot of people are really pure co-op also. So if that's the case, you don't have to play with the victory points. You could just play to play together and try and beat the game together. But for that competitive aspect, that's what the victory points are there for.
There you go. And I saw in the comments of your Kickstarter page that you might be working on, hopefully, depending on the funding and whatnot, working on a 4-player variant possibly.
Right. Well, so right now the plan is I would like the expansion to be a 4 to 5 player expansion because the way the game is designed, if I add for every player I add, I will also need a new race and a new class. And it changes, and all of that will have to go seamlessly with the game. So, it's important in life to know your boundaries, right? So I've made this whole game, and I don't think that I have the cognitive capacity to add a 4th player, to tell you the truth. So in order to make that happen, I just want to get this base game off the ground, and then I'll do 4 and 5 as an expansion. I have sort of had it in my mind that perhaps if this campaign went really well, then as a higher level stretch goal reward, if I'm doing well enough where I can put the resources to doing that for this game, then I'll do it for this game, and just release the game at like a 4 or 5 player version. But it would have to go really well in order to do that.
There you go. And you guys listening right now can go help make that happen by backing this game. Don't wait till that last 48 hours when they send you a reminder. Go ahead and back it now. Nothing will be charged to your card until the 12th of April when it finishes.
That's right.
So there you go. And so you talked about that. And you've developed it up to the 3-player game during the play testing, which I imagine you did a lot of. Was there ever anything that you had to cut out just because it wouldn't work, Matt?
Oh, so many things. And what's funny about that question is that really my MO for the last 6 or 7 years that I've been working on this has been to boil it down. That's been what I've been trying to do for so long, is to take this digital game where so much happens behind the scenes and instantly, but it's all computed, to take that and boil it down and make it a playable analog experience that doesn't bog you down with so much administration that you're having to take care of all this stuff. You can really just enjoy a tower defense experience on the board game. So the nature of that is that I've spent the entire time eliminating things that I thought were cool in order to make it work,
Well, whatever it takes, yeah, for sure. What are you most proud of when it comes to Terminus Breach TD, a tower defense board game?
Probably the thing that I'm most proud of is just that I think it's just the way that it plays, the enjoyment that people get out of it when I'm demoing at conventions and stuff. It's really amazing to take 3 total strangers that, in fact, are fairly introverted individually, and by the end of battle 1, they're talking to each other casually, and by the end of battle 2, they're high-fiving, and by the end of battle 3, they're like arguing like they've been married for years. And by the end of Battle 5, they're like shaking hands and looking each other in the eye and talking about the good times that happened during the game. Because it's, it can be a 3-hour game. So that's a full on, there's a lot of chances to have experiences in there. And just to see that kind of interaction happen over a board game, is really amazing to have something that came out of my brains give people that kind of an experience.
Cool. It sounds like you're trying to eradicate introvertness.
No, I mean, I think most gamers are introvert, myself included. But that's something that I love about board games and role playing games and stuff like that is you can be an introvert, and if you're playing a board game, then you're playing a character, and you get to sit and really be sort of extroverted at the table while you're playing the game. And as soon as you stand up, you go back to being your introverted self. But while you're in that game, you're just kind of playing a character and having a lot of fun.
There you go. So Matt's only trying to get rid of your introvertness for 3 hours max, depending on how long the game goes.
For a short period of time in a safe space. Yeah.
There you go. Now, I know you're probably a little bit biased, Matt. It sounds like you've been working on this for quite a lot of years. So, per se, somebody doesn't want to necessarily take your word for it. Are there any notable reviewers or any reviewers that kind of previewed your game that they can go check out and find out what they thought?
Yeah, definitely. I had 2 really great reviewers do it. Michael Wright from Unfiltered Gamer did a fantastic review and a playthrough for me. It's really fantastic. He had a lot of great things to say. And Jonathan Liu from Geek Dad did a written review for me, and that was really amazing. The guy he's an incredible writer, and he's a really thoughtful, really intelligent fella. And the way that he wrote up my game, he explained it probably better than I ever have, to tell you the truth.
Oh boy, he stole the words right out of your mouth, or I guess.
Yeah, no, he gave me a lot of material. He rephrased a lot of the things that I've been trying to figure out how to say for years, and he boiled it down. I mean, he's a professional wordsmith, and he really is very good at what he does. And his review was fantastic. It's a really great read. Yeah, it's worth the time. Look it up. The Terminus Breach TD review on geekdad.com.
Well, there you go. And it looks like there's also, is it a link? No, nothing. Well, yeah, it looks like there is a link to the full review, but also just a blurb is there on your Kickstarter page.
Yep, just a quick pull quote. But all you got to do is click on the quote, and that'll take you to the full review. And you can watch the Unfiltered Gamer review right there on the Kickstarter campaign.
Well, there you go. And I want to say recently I saw something drop where I forget what he calls it. Daniel Zayas's virtual playground or whatever, where you guys played it online or something.
Right, Daniel's Digital Wonderland. That was actually earlier today.
Well, there you go, and they can check that out on there as well. And it says special thanks to the Daniel Zayas company. Is that because of playing it on his, what did you call it, virtual Wonderland? Or
no, Daniel Zayas is actually I hired him as a Kickstarter consultant for the campaign. So he's helped me a lot. He's actually the only person that I've ever really brought in professionally to help me with this game. And it was, to kind of guide me through the land of Kickstarter.
What can you tell somebody about that process? I don't know if there's like any kind of paperwork you had to sign that you won't divulge anything about working with him, but if there is anything you can divulge for other creators who are trying to get their games on Kickstarter and whatnot, is there anything you can divulge about working with the Daniel Zayas company or any other professionals that might be able to help somebody with their Kickstarter pages?
Well, I mean, I don't want to tell anybody what to do. Daniel's been great, but really, I think what's important is just it's its whole own world, and it's an ever changing world. And if this is not what you do, it's really hard to keep up with, And as soon as you feel like you've gotten caught up, things have changed, and you're behind the ball again. So this is, I think, one of the things where I understood early on that there's no way I could handle this part of it on my own, and I had to bring somebody in. And luckily, Daniel was there, ready to help me out. So he's been invaluable in a couple ways.
There you go. Cool. That's awesome. So, per se, somebody's fallen asleep. They wouldn't be because of you or your game, Matt. It'd probably be because of me and my droning. At the time of this recording, it's only the 23rd of March, and this morning we dropped our 44th episode of the year. So they get a little bit tired of my voice and whatnot. But now they're suddenly jolted awake, and so they don't hit the oncoming traffic or whatnot. So you have their full attention. Why should they take a chance on Terminus Breach TD, a tower defense board game, especially with all the other great games on Kickstarter? I want to say I saw 9 to 12 drop this morning.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Kickstarter is really going wild right now. I guess I have three reasons. So one, if you're into tower defense games at all, then you're gonna love this board game. If you're into board games at all and you sort of like tower defense games, you'll probably enjoy this one more than a digital one that you've played. And the third reason is that it's a whole new kind of game. I've never had anybody successfully classify my game, successfully say, oh, it kind of plays like this, or it kind of plays like this. It just doesn't really work like that. The way the game plays is unique. A true tower defense board game hasn't really been done. I mean, the King's Armory, it was a true tower defense board game, but very complex. You know, and Defense Grid is also a good tower defense board game, the one that went on Kickstarter, but that has minis, and it's sort of a very different approach than I took. Mine is really traditional with a grid and a path, and waves that move across the board, and the towers that upgrade on the towers themselves, with a few extra twists like characters and powers and things like that.
Oh, there you go. And are you on any other podcast talking about this, Matt?
No, you're my first.
Well, there you go. So if I hurry and get this uploaded and whatnot, I can go ahead and say you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief then?
That's right, you sure can.
Well, there you go. So you heard it here first. So that's awesome. Cool. So, yeah, so that's awesome. So go ahead, even if you maybe don't like board games. Well, I don't know why you're listening if you don't like board games, but if you don't like board games or you don't like tower defense games or whatnot, or you want to just see what it's all about, definitely at least go check out the Kickstarter page. We'll make sure we leave links in the show notes and whatnot and everything like that. And yeah, go check it out at least. See what we can do to help this game see the light of day and become a reality or whatnot. So that'd be awesome. And I know we don't want to keep you all. Well, let's see. I know you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, Matt. If somebody backs Terminus Breach TD, a tower defense board game, when would they anticipate getting their game?
Right now, I'm saying at a year. I'm saying by April of 2019, I could deliver, and I think that's pretty realistic, assuming nothing terrible happens through the process. But it's a fairly, streamlined process because it's just me. So I just need some time to sit down and finish the art, hammer out some details, and I've already got the manufacturing logistics company. I've already got everything all squared away. So really, as soon as I get it done, I'm just putting in the files, and we're just waiting for it to get manufactured and shipped out. So I think a year is very realistic.
There you go. Cool. Well, that's awesome. Now, Minus coming there to, I don't know, are you in Portland or are you still in Alaska?
No, I'm in Portland, Oregon right now. Yep.
Okay, well, Minus trying to find you in Portland, or if you go back to visit Alaska or whatnot, Minus doing that to come and stalk you in person. How would somebody go about finding out about you or your games or anything like that?
I mean, you can look us up on Facebook. It's just fine. Also, the game is available on Tabletopia right now for play. That's when I played earlier today with Daniel, we played on Tabletopia. It really works to sit down and play. You really get a feel for how the game plays. You get a good chance to play the mechanics. You can play a full game. I only provided 3 characters, but they're already all set up. The board's already all set up, so you can pretty much just sit down and play as long as you've got the rule book right there, which they have a PDF of it available right on screen. So
Cool. Now, a lot of creators, from what I've heard, a lot of creators of games and Kickstarters tend to listen to Getting Geeky with Game Relief. Now, say somebody's listening and they have, or they're about to put a game on Kickstarter or whatnot, how would they go about uploading something to Tabletopia? Is it a pretty streamlined process? Is it easy, or what would you recommend in that case?
It was not easy. It was not by any means. Everything is its whole own thing, and Tabletopia is no exception. You definitely need to have, separate graphic files that are set up properly for every single piece and component. I would suggest employing somebody like a graphic designer, because that's one of the times that my skills really came in handy, because I'm trained in pre-press and things like that. So to get the files ready was no big deal for me. I had them already on my computer. I could just batch them and it was no big deal. But unless you're familiar with those processes, I can imagine Tabletopia being quite frustrating. In fact, I think it took basically 7 days for me to load, for me to learn how and get the game completed on Tabletopia. So it's a whole system that you have to learn, not just how to play on Tabletopia, but how to load things on there, how to use the workshop and things like that. If you're good at educating yourself, you catch on quick, and you've got some graphic design skills. It's not so bad. Like I said, it took me about a week to start from knowing nothing about Tabletopia to getting my game completely done on there. But if that's not your bag, I would say definitely employ somebody that knows what they're doing, that's familiar with Tabletopia.
Does it seem like it'd be a good thing for somebody to upload it on Tabletopia?
It's great, because anybody that's on the fence about your game, that really feels like, especially a game like mine where the base version is $69, and I get people being, leery about, investing that much money at the least in somebody that they've never heard of, right? I'm not a publishing company. I've never made any other games or anything like that. So, if you're on the fence and you really want to test it out and see if this is as complete as it looks to be, then you can just go to Tabletopia and try it out and play the game. And I've really, had very positive responses when people play the game. So I absolutely encourage people to go on and try it out and play. And I think that'll lead you to the game.
For sure. So go check it out. And like I said, as long as we get them or whatnot, we'll go ahead and leave links in the show notes. So if they're a little lazy like me, they can just click the link as opposed to having to type the whole thing and whatnot. So that'd be good.
Well, I have a link on the Kickstarter campaign. You can just go, right below my how to play video, it says you can play online right now. And you just click right there and it'll take you right to the game on Tabletopia.
There you go. Just go to the Kickstarter link, and like I said, we'll leave that in their show notes. Now, if we need to, we can edit this next part out, Matt. But you talk of being a graphic designer. It's come up once or twice. If somebody's looking for a little bit of help or wants to hire a graphic designer, are you available?
Not at the moment, because I'm doing this game. But I think I don't plan on making any more board games. This is just a seed that's been in my brain that needed to happen. And it's been exhausting and years long, and it's I'm loving making something that I created, but making board games I think is not so much for me. So this probably will be the last one I make, but I think what it will do is it'll transition me into designing for board games. I can definitely see going from branding and what I do now to working on board games for people and employing my branding expertise as a graphic designer for up and coming board games. I think that could be another really great way to get back to the industry.
There you go. So that'd be good. So awesome. So yeah, there you go. And you just told us how we can find out about you, or just go to the Kickstarter page and whatnot. So yeah, that's great. Now we don't want to keep you all night, but we really do appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Game Relief with us, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. It's been a lot of fun.
No problem.
It's time for Kickstarter Corner. To begin now.
You heard her right, ladies and gents. It's that time again, Kickstarter Corner. So, what do we got for you today? Well, we've got Railroad Rivals. Railroad Rivals is a fast-play tile drafting game where you build a railroad empire that stretches across America and across your gaming table. Definitely check this one out on the Kickstarters going through the 10th of April. This one is amazing. It should be in everybody's home, but I know it's not. But it will be if you all back it. Yes, sirree, Bob. And then we've got Fuel Priest, the Dieselpunk tabletop RPG fly airplanes and fight classicism in a Dieselpunk tabletop role-playing game with the Goddess of Progress, the Madam of Oil. They're almost to their goal at the time of this recording, and if you heard our last episode, which was just yesterday, yes, yesterday, then you will know this one, a little bit more about this one, as we had one of the creators on the show. And this goes through the 8th of April, so definitely check this out. Dog fighting in the air in an RPG game. I'd never seen it, but maybe you had. And then, what's going on here? One reason I clicked on Centrix, I've got to check. I've had a malfunction. What's going on here, people? Why did I have a malfunction? I don't know. We've got that one. Give me a break. I'll pause you for a minute and be right back. Sorry about that, y'all. Where did we get to? Well, the audio is a little bit louder, so something happened. Anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and start over because the audio is better now for some reason, I think. I don't know. I'm flabbergasted. Anyway, technology flabbergasted me. Let's try this again. We've got Railroad Rivals. Railroad Rivals is a fast-played tile drafting game where you build a railroad empire that stretches across America and across your gaming table. This is by Forbidden Games, and I think it looks awesome. I can't wait to play it. I think it looks awesome. They go through the 10th of April, so definitely check that one out. And I want to say we're going to have the creator on the show. I don't know. I'll let you know. And then we've got Fuel Priest, the Dieselpunk tabletop RPG game. We did have one of the creators on the show, so watch out for that. Well, actually, go back and listen to the episode if you missed yesterday's. That's when we had him on. But anyways, fly airplanes and fight classicism in a Dieselpunk tabletop RPG game, or role-playing game, with the Goddess of Progress, the Madam of Oil. This one looks awesome. It's from Timeless Cavern. They were getting really close to their goal when we recorded this episode, and they go through April 8th, so definitely check that one out. You can dogfight in a role-playing game in like those old planes. How cool is that, people? And then Dead Throne, open world board game with a mechanical market. They use the box as one of the actual, mechanics in the game. I had the creator on earlier this week. Definitely check it out. Dead Throne, an open world board game with never before seen components and mechanics. Definitely check this one out. They're at double their goal. They have 700 backers and still over 3 weeks to go. Well, about 3 weeks by the time you hear this. Going through Saturday the 14th of April. So definitely check this one out. Help them get some more stretch goals. And then we've got Entrepreneur, the Entrepreneur game by EESpeaks. It's a fun, educational, and interactive game everyone can play. Build businesses, grow your income assets, all while avoiding bankruptcy. This one's a little rough start, but I hope they do make it. They go through the 22 more days at the time of recording. Going through the 14th of April. Check this one out. It is no monopoly, people. No monopoly. And then, if my Facebook Messenger would get out of my way, that is odd, isn't it? It made me click it. Whoa, Facebook Messenger, I despise you. Anyways, back to Kickstarter Corner where we should be, not on Facebook Messenger. You guys don't want to hear me read my Facebook messages, do you? Anyways, we got Liminal RPG. Liminal is a self-contained tabletop role-playing game about people caught in between the everyday modern world and the world of magic. What should we think? Think about, what's that movie or that show I've been watching? I kind of skip around and miss it for a while, but it's got Sam and Dean. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Yeah, the show with Sam and Dean. Supernatural, there we go. And I recently had Paul on the show, and they are overfunded. So they got, 3 or 4 days to go by the time you hear this. They end next Thursday, the 29th of March. So yeah, definitely check this one out. It's going to be a doohunky. No, I don't even know if that's a word. But it's a pretty good one. So definitely check that out if you're into RPGs. Do you have a game coming to Kickstarter? Do you want to be on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, or at least have us talk about your game? Go ahead and send us an email. Well, actually, email is not really the best way, but you could do that. Or, better yet, you can send us a Facebook Messenger. to Getting Geeky with GamerLeaf, or just Facebook personal message me, Blake Leafty. But yeah, definitely check that out. And you know what time it is, and I know what time it is. The time we all dread. But anyways, so we will be all better people by the time we get here next time. Go ahead and get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others into the geek fold. Hey, did I tell you that I'm going to start doing a feature on Alan Gerding's podcast pretty soon here? Make sure you check that out. Watch for Tuesday Night Games Podcast or whatever. Just search Tuesday Night, but it's spelled with a K, not with an N-I-G-H-T. It's K-N-I-G-H-T. Check that out, definitely. And we'll go ahead and let you get on with your lives so you know you've heard me ramble too much. Anyways, Gamer Leaf out.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.